We'll talk briefly tonight about Alona Kimhi's new translation of the novel Lily La Tigresse, which was written, I think, in 2004. It was your third novel, and it's been recently translated into English. Alona lives in Tel Aviv. This novel ruined my vacation. I read it a week ago, and I was on vacation, and I couldn't stop reading it. That's all I did. It starts at a circus, and a trip, trying to go on a trip to a circus, and it kind of spills out in a lot of different ways. It's about a dental hygienist living in Tel Aviv who's sort of in the pursuit of some sort of understanding of her life, and she gets together with a bunch of different accomplices, and tigers involved, and pretty much everything else. It's an amazing read, and I will let Alona read from it now.
Okay. I'll read something that is not the best part of it. Or, it's not my best prose, but I think it's good for reading. I lost it. Do something else. Think of something. Okay. Of course, Leon has advantages. He took Ninush in, alone, backward, rotten-toothed, snatched her from the hands of Chinggis the Bakal Magmetov, from the hands of Norway, from the hands of her stepfather, and from a long series of nameless men who had already been and were, no doubt, still destined in the future to become her masters and torturers. And we have to take into account that these intentions are serious. A Jewish widower from Miami, Florida, who after the death of his Gentile wife, found consolation in return to his roots. True, he's not a youngster anymore, advancing, or perhaps we should say declining, towards his jubilee year. But it's a well-known fact that men remain children at heart, and in this respect at least, they improve with age. They grow steadier in their minds, and their personalities flourish like a tree growing by the water. There's still the betrayal of the body, of course, the only element in the human package that doesn't improve with time. But as I have already pointed out above, Ninush's sexuality goes about as deep as the hole in the snow where Amundsen planted the Norwegian flag. As far as she's concerned, it makes no difference if she shares her bed with Adonis or Quasimodo, spliced with the elephant man. And come to that, weren't worthwhile men like Socrates and Abraham Lincoln known for their ugliness. Leon had made his fortune from the patenting of a unique device entitled Lady's Little Shaking Friend, electric pens for getting rid of cellulite. His dumb Shiksa, the previous wife of blessed memory, had actually fallen victim to one of the stages in this development, a primitive stage, at which it was still necessary to connect the lady's little shaking friend to an electronic point. Poor Mary Ann had come to a carbonized end in the bathroom of their little castle, which stood like a decorative rock opposite the blue Florida Bay. Since then, the pens have undergone many improvements, and now they're operated by batteries, so that the ladies can move about freely and safely in them and get thin. The medical function of these pens consists in their vibrating at a dizzying speed on the buns and thighs of the woman wearing them, thereby dissolving unwanted fat. Whether for this reason or other, more dubious, The women of the world acquired the lady's little shaking friend at a rate which, according to Leon, stands 8 pairs a minute, and money streams into his many bank accounts as from an inexhaustible spring. Unfortunately, Ninush's enjoyment of all this wealth is severely restricted, since Leon refrains from supplying her with live money, for fear that at the moment his dog succeeds in saving up enough cash, she will pick up her skinny backside and fly away forever. The new teeth were the only gift he bestowed on her ensemble. In everything else, Ninush was obliged to appeal to him with tearful requests or alternatively to trust the goodwill and the good taste of her patron. And indeed, Leo's taste was impeccable. His apartment is as light and spacious as a Venetian palazzo and filled with pictures, furniture, carpets, and objets d'art. His closets are bursting with clothes by famous designers, silk underwear, tailored suits, and handmade shoes. His drawers are overflowing with jewelry, both old and new, Patek Philippe and Cartier watches, studded with diamonds for vast fortunes, and handcraft heavy gold cigarette lighters. The bathroom shelves are bowed beneath the weight of dozens of flasks, bottles, and jars of perfumes and lotions concocted by the foremost cosmeticians and dermatologists in that world. But alas, all these artificial beauty aids only emphasize Leon's congenital ugliness. And he's ugly. Socrates or not, Leon is as ugly as the last of the toads. And since he's an aesthete, by definition, a man who lives by the eye, he experiences his ugliness as a curse. What consolation I find in the knowledge that every second of his life is a hell of shame. Shame at his squat stature, at his fat, pockmarked face, at his lashless eyes, at his eczema and psoriasis-afflicted skin. But to my sorrow, I know too that this hell is the very reason he clings to Ninush, to her poisoned beauty, as if this beauty is endowed with a contagious, viral property. And if a man remains long enough by her side, in the end, he will be infected and saved.
There's a quote from the book that I underlined, and I wanted to talk about it. I think it's about 2/3 through. It says, "The female characteristic that screwed us throughout history was, I have no doubt, compassion." Do you think, and they're talking about women, this is a book where women are not only the main subjects and the narrator, but they go through an unbelievable amount of physical and emotional and mental challenges. How was creating this sort of these three main female characters for you? I'm curious how you sort of developed them. Each one is a dental hygienist who's dealing with weight issues. She's the main character. There's a prostitute, Ninush, who is dating that lovely gentleman you just read about. And then there's Mika,
yes,
who is a taxi driver. His husband has left her to move to New York. These are tough times for these women.
Yes, but they all have a certain, the prostitute is retarded. Michaela has a sense of humor, and she has some sort of toughness that doesn't allow her to pity herself. You know, she's un-Jewish in this sense. She has pain, but she doesn't suffer. It's very Nietzschean, as well as, the compassion thing.
Did you, you wrote, obviously, this isn't your first book about Tel Aviv, but there's so much about Tel Aviv in the book. Was that just, there's the Intifada, which is going on. There's
It's not in Tel Aviv, the Intifada.
No, but I mean, it's around this area.
Okay.
And then there's people coming from Russia and the Eastern European and working in the sex industry. There's a lot of the city in the climate in the book. Is that something that you try to pull in, or does that just happen naturally because you've located there?
Look, I don't even know what's happening outside of Tel Aviv, but from reading a newspaper in the morning, a little bit, just the headlines. Tel Aviv is very different from the rest of Israel. It's like New York is very different from the rest of the United States. It's a bubble, and it's a bubble, and it's a big city in a sense. It's very small and ugly city, but there's the vibe and the energies of a big city. Therefore, you can find there more esoteric people, more strange people, artists, outcasts. Everyone comes there from from peripheral areas to live, to find themselves. So Tel Aviv is there, not the occupied territories where Intifada is going on. It was going on, but
the book definitely has some connections to magical realism. And I'm very curious about the way that you use the body throughout in the book. There are deformities, there's changes in the body. It's a very physical book in the way it's described and what happens to the characters. Was that just something that interested you along the lines of transformation with magical realism?
Immensely. I think that the whole subject of female body and her relation to it, to herself, to her body, and the relation of other people, of men to female body, and this whole dialogue about the female body is a major issue in our lives about body, but it mostly goes on with females. They somehow find a way to deal with it on a much more intense highway. Yes, it deals a lot with the female body and with all kinds of fouls in it. So like the heroine is very fat, the young prostitute has horrible rotten teeth, only the taxi driver is just simple. But it deals a lot with the female body and with the weakness of it and with whatever it means beyond being about just the body.
Well, it was curious to me because I was trying to think of another book to compare it to, and I couldn't. And I wondered if you feel that, and this is just a general question, but that sort of women in contemporary literature aren't given the kind of rawness or tough way that you give them. Do you find it tends to be lacking that there are these women characters in fiction?
I think that something bad has happened to women characters in fiction because of some certain kind of humorless, stiff feminism that invaded into all that is written about women. I prefer to see an Almodovar movie and the way he sees women, and the men, and they can call a film women on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and it's okay. But mostly, there's this, you see it in American films, but you see it also in books, that women it always ends with a success story, with a certain success story, in a way, in the sense that she was weak or wronged or damaged, and things happen to her such and such and such, and she goes through a process where she becomes either more aware, either happy, either she becomes a lawyer with a Chanel suit, or she divorces the husband, she starts earning money, she stops being a housewife, she stops chasing men, she doesn't want love anymore, she wants love but only with someone who loves her back and is serious. She doesn't want to have bad sex anymore with people she doesn't love. Sex has to be with love, and so on and so on and so on. And all this, listen, I have to tell you the truth, it comes from America. It comes from American film industry, but also, but it comes from these feminist concepts they're not wrong, but they're sort of prudish. You see, I'm not talking about American books because I love American literature. But all the writers I love, they're men. American, don't know that many American women writers. Anyway,
it's the redemption here. Well, that's great. Thank you. Thank you so much.